episode 45. And today we're going to be talking about how not to freak out when selling your home. But anyways, this is episode 45. Welcome back, Home Tour Podcast. It's 2025. It's a new year, but it's still the same crazy ass me.
That's right.
I ain't changing for nothing.
That's right.
But anyways, I'm Tyler Willis with Tyler Willis Media. Payton, what you got going on in this new year with all the craziness that you got going on now?
Hey guys, I'm Payton with Payton Peoples and Company, Keller Williams Realty Atlanta Partners, and 7,000 other hats now, but glad to be here for season 3.
That's right.
I'm Megan. One hat Megan. Not today.
That's right.
One hat. Your hat's at homes, girl. But I'm Megan Mulvey with Cross Country Mortgage out of Peachtree City.
I love it.
We made it through the holidays. I don't know how we did it, but we made it through the holidays.
Did we? Did we make it?
I don't know.
We're here.
Trying to figure it out.
We're here. I mean, we survived. I don't know if we thrived, but we survived.
That's correct. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But yeah, as you can see, new office in the background. And so we finally sold our house. So today's episode is going to be the craziness that I went through since last April. And so we're going to walk through of how we see it on one side as professionals versus the other foot. So I put dip my toes into the shoes of the listeners, and I don't like the waters. So
all right. So ultimately you are in your new house. So praise.
Yes,
but
we're here.
Longest process ever.
Yeah. And the number one piece of feedback that we got from the agents that actually gave feedback, which I'm going to talk about later, was the HOA fees. And I don't know if y'all saw, but yesterday they actually passed legislation that they're going to start trying to buckle down hard on HOAs across the nation. And so and so apparently there's a person now in office, I think here at the state level. I didn't read the whole article, just the headline. I'm that person.
Mm-hmm.
But they were talking about how she was fielding hundreds of calls a day about HOAs and associations that are just astronomical and how they don't really do much for the people that are living in there. And so legislation is about to crack down on HOAs. So that's positive.
Yes.
But that's my first reason to start off here is why are you selling and understanding your why. So for us, when we first purchased that home, we knew it was not going to be our forever home. We knew that was just our first starter home. And when we bought back in we started looking in 2017, we just had to buy what was ever in our price range. And we settled. We didn't find a house that was perfect. We just settled for what was there because we were trying to get out of the rental situation. And so we knew that we were going to be there for less than 10 years. And if I would have had more foresight, I would have read the articles and the covenants and been like, oh, look, this HOA doesn't have a cap. It can go as high as it wants. And so I would have backed out immediately from that one and found a second option. And so if there's ever an HOA, make sure you read fine print, take time, don't just rush in.
Yep.
And so that was our big why, is because I was ready to get out of that community that had such a high HOA fee where I wasn't seeing a return on the investment.
Mm-hmm.
And so the ROI just was not there for me to be paying almost $4,500 a year in a HOA fee that just wasn't there for me. And so that was my big why. So you got to understand your why. But ultimately, we were looking for our dream home. And so when we went into the process, we knew that it could take some time. We thought we were going to fly off because we were the first ones on the market, around 300. When we first listed in April, there was nothing in April in the 300s. So I just assumed that we were going to fly off, just fly.
Mm-hmm.
But if we would have ended up in the wrong neighborhood, because after doing a little bit more investigation on the builder, and so I started seeing how that builder was working and just throwing homes up in 25 to 30 days. And I know there's no way to build a 5,000 square foot home in 30 days and it not have problems.
Right.
And we would have ended up in the wrong place. And they've already built 100 more homes in that subdivision since April.
Not even a year.
And so that just
Yeah.
not even a year.
Yeah.
And so I just knew ultimately I wanted to be there because I had some friends living in the neighborhood, and I knew that there was going to be a ton of kids for Addie to play with.
Mhm.
But it wouldn't have been the right house. It would have just been the next step in the journey of finding a forever home.
Mhm.
But now, like, we're out here in Sonoya. I'm on like a half an acre. I got a fence in the backyard. Like, I'm where we're supposed to be
Right.
for this phase of life.
Yeah.
So
even though it took forever, you ended up where you needed to be.
exactly. Yeah. And so I can't be mad at it, because if we would not have been patient and just jumped at the first offer, yeah, we would have made about 45,000 more because of from where we listed versus where we sold.
Yeah.
But it just wouldn't have been the right home. It would have been an okay house.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
but that's my biggest thing, is like, know your why.
So, looking at your perspective from being a seller, we'll talk about the buying side later, but like selling, what were the big things that were tips that you were like, these are things that we should talk about?
Yeah, the first one, declutter as much as possible. And yes, it's going to hurt. Like, I gave away stuff that I wish I still had, but like, it was stuff that was cheap that I could replace. But in the meantime, like, I needed to get rid of it to make way for people to actually see the space. We got a storage unit. We moved almost everything out of our garage. That way people could see just how massive the garage was. And that was a huge feature for some families that left feedback, was the fact that 2 cars could actually fit in the garage.
Right.
And so like that right now, that's a premium in our area, because most garages, if they are built for 2 cars, they're not for actual 2 vehicles.
Yeah.
Like, they're for like Mini Coopers.
Yeah.
And
I see that all the time, especially showing older homes in Peachtree City. Yes, it's a 2-car garage, but it's really made for your shit and your golf cart.
Exactly, or a bicycle.
You really can't. I drive a pretty large SUV, and it does not fit in our garage.
I drive a Camry. And it doesn't even fit in the garage that we have now, which I'm fine with.
Yeah.
Because of all the stuff that's in there right now.
Right.
Eventually, I'll have that room, but right now, like, I've got too much junk in there.
Yeah.
And so that's that decluttering process of getting everything out of storage. But that's my biggest one. Get a storage unit, throw as much crap as you can in there, and just let it sit. Go to Costco. Shout out Costco. We would love a sponsorship. Go to Costco, get those massive black and yellow bins.
Yep.
And just fill it up and put that crap in storage.
Yep.
Like, show the space. The next one is the one I hate to talk about, is how much cleaning we did.
Yeah.
So we had to keep the house show ready 24/7 from April to December. Do you know how hard that is with a dog and kids?
That gives me anxiety just thinking about that. Yeah.
Oh my Jesus. And there were some days, I kid you not, where I was just like, today I'm not feeling it. And I left dishes in the sink. I left clothes out. And mother trucker, that was the days that we got showings.
Always. Yep.
And I was just like, really? Really? I am that stereotype.
Yep.
We were at dinner one night. It was midweek. It was like a Wednesday, Thursday, or whatever. Went to good old CB, Crackle Barrel. As soon as we sat down and we ordered, showing request in 20 minutes. House was a wreck. So we just got ours to go, ran home, cleaned real fast, and we're out 3 minutes before the showing happened.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It was just a nightmare.
I mean, that's the other side of being an agent. And now things have changed and processes are in place that should prevent that kind of thing from happening.
Yeah.
But as an agent, I always, especially when I know that the listings are not vacant, somebody's living there, I refuse to tell my clients, yeah, sure, let me submit a request right now and let's see if we can approve it. Because one, that gives me no opportunity to do any homework or research or anything or learn anything about the house show. But then also it's putting literally everyone in a panic to get out of the house in 30 minutes. Now if it's a vacant house, then I don't care.
It's different. Yeah.
But when it's clearly somebody is living there, it's just disrespectful. But I mean, I get it. So they're just going to do it no matter what. And even with the processes and stuff in place now, where we're not supposed to be doing those things as agents, because that was the whole lawsuit thing, is now there's a whole process specifically in Georgia where before we request or before we show the house, we have to receive a document from the listing agent that outlines how we're getting paid. I wasn't part of the systems when you were selling, so it's different. But there's a lot of agents now that still don't do the things the way that we're supposed to. But it makes it to where now if I'm out showing with a client and they're like, oh, well, we just saw this one, can we pop over there and go see it? It's really easy for me now to say no. I have to have a conversation with the listing agent. I have to obtain all these papers. Then we can go back out tomorrow. But man, there is nothing like sitting down at Cracker Barrel and then being like, well, never mind.
Because we were in that mindset of any showing could be the one.
That's true.
So we were that ready to be out and move that we literally accepted every showing request. Like regardless of what happened. And it was always our agent, bless her, Tanya Jones, love her to death. She even told us, she was like, guys, y'all don't have to accept. You can tell people no and give them another time frame. But we were in that mindset of, no, this could be the one. This could happen. So that was just like, that's just mentally where we always were for 9 months. It was mentally exhausting, especially with knowing from the time. So about April, I was at like 300-ish shoots. And by the time I had finished, I had already photographed over 300 more houses. And I was just like, why is mine not selling? And so I was always in that mindset of, I saw crappier houses than mine go under contract. So I was always, and even Kylie was always like, what's wrong with our house? And I would always be like, there's nothing. It's the HOA. That was always the feedback, except for one jerk that came in and he looked at our air ducts and said that our air ducts looked dirty from the ground. And I wanted to be like, did you get up there with like a ladder or something? I don't have a ladder in the house. I took that to storage. What are you doing? And so then I spent $500 and got freaking air ducts clean. Like I was that guy. So every piece of feedback, I did whatever the feedback was. And I was just like, check mark. Like eventually this mother trucker will sell.
Okay. So speaking of feedback, talk to us about how that process felt as a seller.
So it is incredibly demoralizing when you have a showing and there's no feedback given. And so the worst part was it was some agents that I work with. And so I would text them after 2 or 3 days, be like, hey, did the clients like leave any feedback? And it was always, they still haven't told me what the feedback is. And I wanted to be like, you need to have a process in place that as soon as you walk out, ask them mother truckers.
Right. And so for everybody who doesn't understand how this process works, we use something called Showing Time. That's an app to schedule the showings. And then it automatically, like literally, it's like, are you still at the showing? Have you finished the showing? Because it knows how long your appointment time is. And as soon as it recognizes that you've locked your key back in the Supra, it's asking for feedback. Now, instantly. And it's prompting you. It's not, hey, here, please write us a 5-page research paper about this house. It's literally rate the price from 1 to 5. Like, how was your experience? Do you have any specific notes for the seller or the listing agent? It's very simple. It's very easy to follow. Now, I will say I've left a lot of showings and the people will be like, I don't really know how I feel yet. Can I get back to you? And I'm like, you know what? Because there's some houses that it's like, there's a lot of things I got to think about. But if that's the feedback, then I text the listing agent and say, my people
just let them know.
are still considering what their thoughts are. Yes. We'll make sure and submit this as soon as I know something. But not saying anything and then blaming it on the fact that your clients haven't communicated to you is not okay. Because then that leaves the seller sitting there thinking, what the hell's wrong with my house?
Exactly.
And it puts the listing agent in a bad position, because then they have nothing to go to the seller with and say, yeah, we had 6 showings yesterday, but I haven't heard from any of them.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Because I hate to say this, and I was that seller that would have literally given anything as a request. So if there was an older couple that came in, and they loved everything about the house. They didn't care about the HOA fee because they were older. They knew that everything was going to be taken care of them. Their one thing was, it was a 2-story house, and they didn't want to have to worry about the stairs as they got older. I would have put in a fucking chairlift for them if they would have just said that. I would have spent whatever the amount of money. Like, I'm that person. For all the other agents listening, always put in, like, hey, the buyer's thinking this. Could they make this work as the sale? Like, always pitch something if the clients like it. Ask for it. The sellers could say yes. The seller could say, hey, we'll meet you halfway. Like,
if it's not,
always put it in.
Yeah, if it's not a like automatic hell no, then there's a chance.
Try something.
If the clients are at least considering, they're like, oh, I really like X, Y, and Z. It's really just A, B, and C that I'm concerned about. That's not a no. That's a let's try and figure this out. But if they're like, absolutely not, I cannot do it, even with a stair lift or whatever, which honestly, if that's a concern, why are you even showing a 2-story house? Different topic.
Exactly. Different topic altogether, but whatever.
But like, if they are moving towards considering it in any way, shape, or form, have the conversation. Don't just automatically assume that it's a no. In addition to the fact that not receiving the feedback is frustrating as a seller, but it could also be that then becomes feeling like the buyer's agent's not doing their job and making it more difficult for everybody. Then you're talking about like why am I paying a buyer's agent if they can't even tell me what's wrong with my house?
Yep, exactly. So that was my biggest frustration with one agent. This agent was out of Atlanta, so they didn't know the market down here that well. And they showed the house like 2 houses down from me. And I knew that house. I knew the problems with that house, but that house was like $40,000 more than mine at the list price. She was thinking her commission and had her clients buy that house with all the issues that I knew about it. That was one of those moments where I was just like, okay, I see how it is. Some agents aren't out there looking for the best for their clients. They're just looking for the highest price.
That's right. Yep.
So I was like, whatever.
You want a quick way to know why people hate real estate agents? You just explained it.
100%. Because I knew that house had issues. It was a rental as well. And then the renter in there was a complete jackass. And I know that he had destroyed stuff in there.
Yeah.
And so it was just like one of those moments where I was just like, oh, I know why you were down here at that price point.
Yeah. Well, the seller gets away with it in those situations because in Georgia, you don't have to disclose. Seller's disclosures aren't required. It's expected, but it's not required.
Exactly.
But when it's a landlord selling their house, like
they don't care.
They're submitting something that's just saying it's a latent defect. We're not aware of anything that's wrong because I've never lived in this house. So they don't have to disclose anything because they've never lived there as their primary residence. So that's always something to ask your agent about. If you're getting the property disclosure and your agent can't tell you anything about it because it's the latent defects form, it's because it's a rental and they've never lived there. And so they can't tell you what's wrong with the house. All right. What's next on your list of things that you want to talk about?
keeping a clean home. And so I will tell you, after having to keep it clean from April to December, is translated over to my next house because every 2 days I'm doing like spot cleaning. And so I've just learned now this is the lifestyle I want to live. The next thing is just get super personal items and irreplaceable items out of the house. That was one of those things that we went through whenever we got the storage unit. We were like, what are things that if they were damaged, like we would just be destroyed. And so get those out. And I always tell clients this whenever I photograph their homes. If you are walking through and valuables, jewelry, guns, ammunition, that stuff needs to be locked away and secured during showings because it can walk away and people will be like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Right. Yep.
And so those are the kind of things that you want to get out of a home. So that way it's not even an issue.
Yep.
Oh, and the next one. So removing yourself from the actual feedback. So it's hard, but you have to get your emotions out because people are looking at it as a transaction and a financial thing, not it's your personal home.
Right.
Because at that point, they're trying to see if it's their home. We had one person come through and they left some nasty feedback, and it was all personal. It was very direct and personal. Like they did not like personal items in the home. And I wanted to be like, that agent shouldn't have put that because that's something that's not permanent in the home.
Or at least
and so like
that to the clients, like you need to look past those things. Yeah.
Exactly. So like those were those telltale signs that you're not a seasoned. And so that feedback also reflects on your level of professionalism because you allowed your client to do a direct attack against somebody's personal items in a home that will not be there. And so that was one time where I was just like, ooh, that one really pissed me off.
Yeah. Yep.
Find the joy in showing the home in its best light. For me, I wanted to always make sure that the backyard and back porch looked good because that was my favorite part of the home. Spending that time outside, even though it was always maintained by the HOA, they send in a crew. I always made sure that stupid things, limbs that had fallen, little small things. I wanted to always make sure like I would every single day. I'm probably pissed off all my neighbors, but every single day before I left and when I got home, I blew off the driveway and the back porch.
We've talked about this before, though, of how important that is in what it's giving off when the people
Yep.
get it.
Exactly.
Because while they're standing there waiting for the agent to open up the Supra, they're looking around at all the stuff. And so if there's leaves everywhere and branches everywhere and dead flowers everywhere or whatever, like they're making note of all these things. They're like, oh my gosh, well, that looks like work or that looks like money.
See, I was even the neighbor to where I blew off my neighbor's driveway.
You were like, look, I'm gonna make it look great.
I'm cleaning every damn thing out here, homies. Like, I'm trying to sell the neighborhood.
Yeah, Tyler's like, the HOA, screw it. Nope, I'm doing it.
I'm taking care of everybody right now because that's ultimately what I was thinking of too. If my home sold at that price, because I lived on the older side of the subdivision, if my home sold at that price, it was going to become the new comp for everybody around me.
Yep.
So that's the reason why, like, I was fighting to try to get it as high as I could. That way, everybody else on my side could also use it as a comp for whenever they sold theirs.
Yep. So we're blowing everything.
Not a lot of, not a lot of sellers think that way. They're like, how can I get out of here?
Right.
But I was trying to be like, because the lady across the street from me, I was really fond of her. She was an older lady. I made Addie go blow off her driveway a lot because she had surgery. And so I'd send Addie over there with the leaf blower and be like, hey, go clean hers. That way she doesn't fall.
Yeah.
So I knew that eventually she was wanting to sell too. So now her home that she bought at has a new comp that they can use mine for.
Yep.
It's the same floor plan, same year built, same everything. So I was like, okay, if I can get it at this price, then she can get it at this price.
Right.
So I was like, how can I help everybody in the neighborhood? Because there's houses like on the newer side that are listed like almost in the 330s. Like, but they're way newer than mine was because mine was a 2006. And some of those new ones are like a 2017, 2018 build.
Yeah.
And so Like they have like an extra like 200 square feet. Their backyards are a little bit nicer, and like they can get it. But mine, I was older. I took care of the water heater. I had a $15,000 air conditioner put in the house as soon as we moved in because it was broken and the inspector didn't find. Oh, by the way, fuck some inspectors, man. Golly.
Hold on. Yeah, no. Kevin's great. Love Kevin.
No.
Woo!
I'm talking about big chain. I'm talking about some big chain name. No, we got the explicit tag.
Oh God, I'm dying.
The inspector that was on my house did not know how to turn on my air conditioner and put on there that it was broken. I'm sorry, you put it on heat and set it to 99 degrees in my house. Like, what is wrong with you? And they left their water running after the inspection. I come home and there's water running. And I'm like, what is going on in my house?
Oh no.
They also put on there that I stayed in the property, that I barricaded myself in a room, and that I put a note on the door that said, "Do not enter, leave me alone." So who you hire as an inspector fucking matters whenever you're doing it. Like, don't go with the cheapest option because that's what the buyer did. That is exactly what they did. I know the 3 inspectors that referred to them, and they did not go with them because they're more expensive. This person with this company was the cheapest option.
Right. Cutting corners and stuff like this, when especially in Georgia where you're a buyer beware state and this is your only opportunity to find the things that might be wrong with the property. Woo, child. I cannot. I have zero patience for that.
Because the bad part about it, he got his report back and showed all these errors. As the seller, I then had to spend money to defend why these items were not broken and all that. So that cost me hundreds of dollars.
Yep. At the end of the day, look at you in your new house.
Exactly. We're in the new home. But that was my journey through it all. Is way different for every house is different. But the big takeaways, the 2 loan didn't listen. Yeah. Keeping a clean house is really important whenever you're selling. Make sure it looks like how whenever we take listing photos, like you want it to still look the same. Don't change too much, especially paint. Don't go painting new rooms and new areas that don't match the listing pictures. So declutter, get stuff out, and don't try to take yourself out of the home as much as you can when you're selling.
Agreed.
But that's me. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. 2025, here we go. What else we got on the dock for the year? What kind of craziness are we going to be up to with? Go ahead, let everybody know your new position.
Yeah.
All what's coming up this year.
Yeah, we have a lot of things happening. So I am in a new market center, still with Keller Williams, different location, but now I am, in addition to being an agent and a listing agent for Eva Gardens and being the president of Keller Williams Young Professionals Atlanta South, I am now also the director of agent performance and development for the Noonan Market Center. So my focus is helping and finding new agents who need mentorship and coaching in their businesses to learn how to become an agent and to be successful and to build systems and management and all of that. That's my focus. And I'm still here doing the podcast. That's why I was like, I'm wearing all the hats now. Which one
all
am I right now? I don't know, but
that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
It's going to be a really good year. I'm excited.
Heck yeah.
We should probably mention that we reconvened about what are our boundaries for the podcast, because this was still important for us to continue. We're all very passionate about it, but we also are running out of available time to make it happen. Instead of going from weekly podcasts that are coming out, we're moving to every other week. So we'll have 2 new episodes every month instead of 4. And what we're trying to do is move into one episode be from us and us talking and giving you something, and then one of those episodes being from a special guest. So our next episode coming up will be with a special guest, Alexis Anderson. She is the owner, operator, rainmaker, all the things for a really large, successful team in the Noonan Market Center for Keller Williams.
Heck yeah.
And so she will be sharing a bunch of stuff with us that we're excited to bring to you on our next episode. So a few little minor changes, but it's all for the good.
Heck yeah. It's going to be awesome.
Be great.
I'm pumped.
That's right.
And what's good too about the change in schedule is we'll be able to give you longer episodes versus some that were like 5 minutes and then some that were like 45 minutes.
Right.
So it'll be more consistent across the feed as well. So that'll be easier for those that listen on the commutes into and around metro area, as well as wherever you're listening to it from. We even have one person listen to us from Australia. So bless you.
Welcome to our
yeah, welcome to our crazy. That's entirely different from the market that you have down there.
That's right.
So,
yep.
But anyways, guys, that's the end of this episode. We thank y'all, especially if you made it all the way to the end. And thank you for listening to my rant on how to not stress during the home sale.
That's right.
Guys, see you guys.